Let me tell you about the most expensive fart in Scotland. This is a story one of my professors at medical school in Aberdeen used to tell us, and I've got no reason to think it isn't true. It was in the early 1980s, and there was a man on Lewis, which is a remote island in the Outer Hebrides, who developed really severe abdominal pain. It was coming in waves, and his tummy was getting big, and he was worried, so he went to see his GP. GP examined him. He found the abdomen really quite tight. The man had vomited by this time, and he listened with his stethoscope, and the bowel sounds were very active and unusually loud. So the GP was worried he was having a bowel obstruction. This was 40 years ago, and CTs at that time were kind of rare and expensive things to get, even in a city hospital. And Lewis didn't even have an X-ray machine. So the GP called Glasgow, spoke to the surgical team. They said to transfer the man urgently, and they would prep a theatre. So a helicopter went from Glasgow to Lewis, picked the man up and transferred him back. That's an operation that would have cost in today's money about £10,000. The helicopter landed, there was a team waiting with a trolley. They transferred him, rushed him off the helipad and into the lift. And the lift doors closed, and as it started to go down, the man let out an absolutely enormous fart. By the time they got to the floor where the surgical theatres were, apparently he felt completely fine. Tummy pain had gone, he wasn't feeling sick anymore. They still did some blood tests and an X-ray, but they didn't find any problems, no surgical cause, no obstruction. And then apparently, because there was no medical need to fly him home, he had to make his own way back. So he went back the 8-hour journey by bus and ferry to Lewis. I think our professor told us that story because he wanted to remind us as future doctors to be good stewards of the finite resources of the NHS. But I came away with a different message. Sending a helicopter for a guy who just needed a really good fart sounds ridiculous. But the GP didn't know how that story ended. He looked like he was having a bowel obstruction. So what was he supposed to do? And this is a great example of what we call hindsight bias. And it's relevant outside of medicine too. Sometimes in life, you make a decision that turns out not to have been necessary or even to have been wrong. But that doesn't mean it was the wrong decision at the time.